Hello, everyone, and let's start slowly. People are still coming in, but welcome again to the new Central Baltic program applicant seminars. And today we are speaking about the program objectives of improved employment opportunities and also later today about the improved public services objective. This is the main agenda of the applicant seminars, and today we are at the 2nd of December with these two sessions. And also, I'd like to say in the beginning that to be able to write a good project proposal, it could be very valuable to also attend tomorrow's sessions because partnership, developing work plan, and drafting a budget are very important parts for submitting your application. And well, today about questions, we will be using chats for the questions as usual. And please write your questions in the chat and I will take the questions about the employment opportunities objective at the end of my presentation. And about availability of slides, yes, slides will be available and they will be available next week. They will be sent to the participants and available on Central Baltic website. And also, I'd like to mention in the very beginning that in the end of this session, we will be putting in chat a link to the feedback form. It will be a very, very short feedback form, but very valuable to us. So please, before you leave, do fill the feedback form. Right, let's start about the today's session and goal of this session. Today, the goal of this session is to take a more detailed look at this objective, the improved employment opportunities on labor market, and to get ready to prepare successful projects on this topic. And what do we have planned for this session? We have planned to look at the employment topic in the new Central Baltic program, and those who have been participating in previous sessions of the applicant seminars will have heard some of it, but still we may have people who are participating only some of the sessions, so I'll do a bit of recap there. Then we will touch the labor market situation in the Central Baltic region with a small overview. Then after that, we'll look in detail about the rules of the program regarding the program objective 6. So this one about the employment opportunities. Then we will discuss some hypothetical and also some real project ideas. We have two applicant seminar participants who have also applied to pitch some project ideas they are thinking to prepare and possibly to find some partners joining these project ideas. Then we also look at the relation to the program objective 7, and that is important because the last program objective 7, which is on improved public services, also could support some projects related to employment policy when it really is about services and not so much involving direct activities for the unemployed people or people needing to improve their employment competitiveness. And also we have planned as a small experiment a Zoom coffee pause to meet the other participants, because we hear rather often that there are opportunities needed to meet other people working in similar topics and also to possibly help the partner search, as not all who have these project ideas have already defined full partnership. And maybe somebody finds an idea where to join to the partnership and apply for the project later. So looking at the 7 program objectives, and one of these objectives is number 6, the improved employment opportunities on labor market. And probably this is the most important picture of the new program. Oh, not this one. This one is the most important picture of the new program, where we can see what are the objectives, what are the main topics, and when we dive deeper, what are the results we are expecting to achieve there. And when we look at the improved employment opportunities topic, it's not like totally new because it also has some roots in the previous program of the previous period where we had projects about stronger communities and vocational education. And when we talk about social inclusion, it's very often that it still ends up about employment, because to be socially included, people need to be also included in economic activity. So it is either about employment or entrepreneurship, which is also a very important part of this objective. Right. And looking back at the program basics, where do we stand in the program with this objective? So the total is 118 million euros ERDF funding for the program for this programming period. And about 20 million of that will be for employment opportunities objective. And the same rules apply as for other objectives. So it will be about the numbers we're talking are maximum of 4 million total per project and up to 2 million total per partner. So these are the maximum numbers of the project size. And of course, all the other preconditions that we have for Central Baltic projects, it's a cross-border program. So we need partners from at least 2 participating countries, and we need clear cross-border added value. So it's not possible to have projects that are beneficial for one region only. It has to be done in Central Baltic scale with at least 2 regions doing similar activities and working together. And as part of the simplification process, we have 2-step approach for the regular project, which means that for the first step, it will not be necessary to have all the detailed budget calculations and very detailed work plans. It will be more strategic assessment for the first step, and then later more of operational assessment for the second step. That way we will save work for those participants who might not go to the second step later on. And also for this objective, we have this opportunity of small projects as well, but generally we are thinking that it could be more of a regular project domain, but it's still a possibility there. Also, not to forget, very importantly, that the partners have to be with sufficient financial means available, as all the projects have to be first financed by the partners, and only later, after all the checks are done, it takes even more additional time. The ERDF part is then, after the report approved, given back to the partners who have already invested it first. So no advanced payments, unfortunately. And talking about the co-financing rates, it's 80% ERDF for all countries of the program region. And talking about the program region, we get to this picture where we see the relevant regions. And as you see, it is all of Estonia, almost all of Latvia, southern Finland, and the region around Stockholm in Sweden, and of course the Åland Islands as one of our important stakeholders in the program. And when we look at the employment situation in this region, we have to say it's not too bad. We are starting from a rather good point, and the unemployment rates are about quite close to the EU average in these countries. And we have to say that there are some similarities of the situation in employment in these regions and some differences. So when we look at the similarities, it is the all ages old problems like long-term unemployment are still there. The gender pay gap is still there. And there are a lot of issues with less competitive groups in the labor market who still have difficulties to access the labor market. And that is also quite of the focal point how we approach this program. We look at it through the less competitive groups and their needs. This is a very, very important point, how we approach the employment opportunities objective in Central Baltic program. And speaking about similarities, all of these countries were affected by the COVID crisis. And again, some were affected a bit more, some a bit less. Baltics were the ones that were affected most in the European Union. But at the same time, I have to say that the employment situation has sort of adjusted and stabilized. And of course, COVID is having impact, but it seems that economies are adjusting. Then when we look at differences, well, one that quite stands out is Latvia with quite a significant gender pay gap issue, and we are not seeing progress, positive progress as we would like there. Then we have to point out that there are quite different systems of how the labor markets are working and how the various partners interact there. For example, the role of the social partners are very different. And some countries we have more trade union involvement, some less. For example, I have to say, I never heard of a school kitchen strike in Latvia, but I have to say for sure that they do happen in Finland. So it's got an example where it shows that really the systems can be quite different, and we need to consider that when choosing partners, that the same functions can be done by very different actors in different regions and countries. And also one of the differences I'd like to mention is different situation for the age groups. When we see and compare in Baltics, it would be that the situation with youth unemployment is better than in Sweden and Finland. However, when we look at older workers situation, then again in the Baltics, it's a bit worse. Somehow when it's added on one side, it's often taken away on the other side. And there's a lot of potential for learning from each other and doing things together, also to promote this region as a more united labor mobility area. And we do have quite a bit of labor mobility between Finland and Estonia, and also Sweden, Finland, but not that much, although some among countries of Latvia and Estonia, and all of the whole. There is some, but it could be more, and it could be beneficial for the economy of the region. Yeah, and how is it defined specifically in our program document? The challenges we have defined in the Central Baltic program document are as following in these slides. I have listed them here as it could give a good background of where to develop a project from. And the first one is that the demand in the labor market develops faster than matching the education can be provided. This gives us scope for some shorter term and quick solutions that could be done in project format. Then there's still the issue of identifying the future labor market needs and the needed skills and integrating into educational processes. As I already mentioned, the gender pay gap is still in place. And there's still quite a lot of challenges in coordinating the labor market services across the borders. For example, the information services, the matchmaking services, trainings, benefits, all of that is quite different. And although it may seem quite easy that people could be working in one country and living in another, but it's not so easy. And there is still a lot of things to do, how to improve these possibilities for real labor mobility. Also, we have identified as a challenge that people with social care responsibilities have less possibilities to access the labor market. So things related to childcare and caring about other relatives mostly. And also it's been identified that flexible forms of work like part-time work, remote work, and other types of flexible work are still underused in our region. And have to say that COVID situation has changed this a bit, and the flexible forms of work have been more used lately, but they are still underused and could be used more. And so we've been through to the background and situation, how it looks in the Central Baltic region, and we have arrived to the actual objective of the new Central Baltic program, and that is the improved employment opportunities in the labor market. The approach, how do we approach this issue, is defined here. And as we look at it, we see that the approach derives from the challenges of less competitive groups in the society to access the work opportunities and the labor market inflexibility. And what that means is that we are really looking to benefit the peoples representing these less competitive groups. And we are not looking into labor supply for particular economic sectors or anything like that. Everything goes specifically through this dimension of less competitive groups. The goal is to strengthen and improve employment opportunities through the joint efforts in the region. So we have to be working together. National efforts are very valuable, but for this program, we are looking exactly at these joint ideas, joint activities, and doing things together. And we include all counterparts of the labor market. So it could be employers, organizations, trade unions, governments, also municipalities, and all sectors where work opportunities are available. Part-time, pretty much everything that would help the less competitive groups to access the employment opportunities. And also facilitating employment supply and demand across borders is supported. So it practically would mean labor mobility, as well as entrepreneurship development activities towards the less competitive age groups and youth. And so specifically for the entrepreneurship, the target groups, as is seen here, is less competitive age groups, that is youth and older people. Yeah, and previously I said that we were at the very most important picture of the new program, but this I would say is the most important picture showing what will be happening in the improved employment opportunities objective. So let's go through these result indicators very carefully, as this is the very main criteria to see if the project idea is relevant to the Central Baltic program. Every project will need to achieve one of these result indicators. And one, basically we have these three types of result indicators, and that also means kind of that we have three types of projects that we are expecting to see in the new program. So the first one is the number of people with increased competitiveness on labor market. And that makes a type of a project where we are focusing at pretty much training of the people or some other approaches and ways how their competitiveness could be improved. And after they have participated in activities that lead to increased competitiveness, so there have to be some sign, how do we judge if the competitiveness has been improved or not. And to consider that someone's competitiveness has been improved, we will see if there's a work contract achieved, if there's work affiliation achieved, meaning sort of less permanent work possibilities, for example, some work practice or subsidized employment for a limited time period and similar programs. It could be new qualifications gained that also show that competitiveness on labor market is improved. So it could be a certificate providing that the completion of study program has been done. And also it could be that inactive or unemployed people are starting to actively job search. And as we see, these activities and these sort of evidence that we are expecting to see that increased competitiveness has been achieved is quite substantial. So from this, we can see that the projects we are looking for will be possibly longer term with quite lengthy involvement of participants. So if we have just one seminar on something that would in principle improve the competitiveness of labor market, it's unlikely that such activity would not achieve enough impact. So we are looking at rather substantial programs with substantial impact on the situation of the participants. So that was about the first result indicator and the first type of project related to that. Now let's move to the second one. So the second result indicator is a number of organizations with applied additional anti-discriminatory policies. And what would that mean in practice? We see nowadays that all sorts of sustainability issues and equal opportunities issues are becoming more and more mainstream part of business for companies, and it's becoming from something from nice to have into something that is very important to have. And also, on the other hand, this would help the companies with supply of the labor, because in many situations there is lack of people in some professions. Lack of people to work also is quite possible, even due to this mismatch of situations. And so this measure would help to achieve better supply of workers to the employers and also better opportunities to the unemployed people or at risk of unemployment. And what we are looking for would be different activities, social dialogue type of activities, or discussions and experience exchange with a result of policy prepared, approved, and applied in companies. Again, we will have to count specific companies who have worked out a new policy and started to approve it and apply in their work and personal policy in everyday basis. So this pretty much gives us a second type of project. And the third one is a bit different, but also very important. And we had similar projects in the previous program as well. So it's about entrepreneurship, and it is for young people and older people coming from the situation as defined in the program document. And what we would like to see here is projects with activities of entrepreneurship simulators and learning. And maybe we could also describe these as this junior achievement type of activities where young people are learning entrepreneurship skills and actually having these training companies, not the real ones, but where they are practicing how to run a company and do business. And we also will have these for older people in this program, as older generations are seen as a significant resource for entrepreneurship promotion in the region as well. And again, we will need some quite substantial set of activities. So it really improves the entrepreneurship skills. One seminar is helpful, but it has to be more than that to achieve substantial impact. So what could be the indicative joint actions to achieve these results that we are planning? So they are awareness raising among the target groups, designing and implementing trainings, and I would like to really emphasize the implementing part, because designing is very good, but here we are looking at very practical impact, and implementing of these trainings is a necessary part. The next joint action we could have is incentives and services for employers. That could be work practices and various measures for employers to make sure it's also interesting for them to try to work with some specific less competitive groups. One quite typical example here could be that there is some incentives for employers to do some adjustments and see if they can accommodate for the needs of people with special needs, but it could be others as well, like also work practices for young people who have the education, but they don't have any experience. Another joint action would be networking and dialogues between counterparts of the labor market. Then digital tools for online skills development and working, also very topical at the COVID era. As I already discussed a bit, the entrepreneurship enhancing simulations and problem solving exercises on entrepreneurship. Then the wonderful activity of mobility of participants, as this is something that could be very nicely integrated in the projects and give additional edge to these projects compared to the ones that are organized or national or regional level. And of course, experience exchange and learning as the result of joint implementation. And what I would like to stress is again that we need to choose a good mix of these indicative joint actions to make a good, strong project with good impact that achieves the results that we are looking to achieve. And it's not really regulated how it's done, and it's totally up to the applicants to design a project that would really achieve these results and bring benefit to people of the region. So here we can see quite nicely how the various elements of project fit together and how could really a project of employment opportunity objective look like. We already discussed the result indicators quite lengthy, so I won't return to that. The output indicators. The output indicators, here we have the number of participating in project activities, organizations and companies. And unique companies and organizations will be counted, and also organizations cooperating across borders. That is pretty much a similar indicator where we will count the organizations and companies participating in project activities plus the project partners. And the participating in project activities here really means active participation, not passive things like receiving newsletters or similar. Target groups. So the very important point of the target groups. We have very well and precisely defined these less competitive groups to some point, but also there is this mention of other less competitive groups. That means if a project sees another less competitive group, they can justify, describe their situation, and potentially other less competitive groups could be added besides the ones that are mentioned here. So looking at them specifically, so young people under 25, that is one group, and many cases this group is quite well educated but lacks the work experience, and other cases it's the young people who are not involved in work or education or still need some additional qualifications. And when looking at the age, we have discussed a bit about these age limits for the younger side, and considering that in European Union employment policies looked usually as young people from 15 to 25, the group could be similar to that, but of course we also need to consider any national legislation, like for example, when it's legal to work at what age and how long is the obligatory school until which age. So the national regulations also have to be considered and implemented. And of course, we would really recommend the we would also recommend the entrepreneurship activities for the young people as one of the focuses on this objective. Then another age group, people in pre-retirement and retired people. Also, we need to look at national regulations, what comes into these groups, and generally it's older people who could still have better access to labor market and also contribute as entrepreneurs, maybe after they have finished working as employees. Another group we have defined is immigrants, so various ideas how to integrate in labor market the immigrant people and the people with special needs as well. And as I mentioned, also it could be the other, whatever the project could define as less competitive group, justify it, describe it, provide data, and it could be also considered. And companies are a target group for this measure of anti-discriminatory policies that we discussed. So number 2, if we look at the result indicators right there. Potential partners, another important question for many of us. And here we are looking for the organizations with competence and experience on labor market. That's the most important thing that sort of characterizes a relevant partner for this project objective. And that also means access to the target group, because it's very important for the potential partners to have access to the target group and not, well, it could be also outside the partnership, but it's very important to think how to access the target group and where to find the participants. For some of the organizations that may be providing training, but not having directly working with these target groups we have here. So it could be, of course, organizations representing employees like trade unions or employers associations. It could be public authorities, municipal, national, or regional levels. And it could be organizations representing the disadvantaged groups and organizations with competence and experience on entrepreneurship for the entrepreneurship type of projects. I mentioned several times that it's important to have joint activities, joint elements of cross-border cooperation. And here are the elements, what they could actually look like. So what are we looking for when we will be assessing the cross-border element in the project applications? First, it is that the activity plan and the approach should be joint and integrated. In practice, meaning that the project partners are planning the project together and implementing it together. So it's not like one partner is doing their activities in their region locally and other doing similar activities in their region and not doing things together. So we don't want these sort of mirror activities in each end of the cooperation. We want them integrated and working together. And looking at more specific elements, it could be mixed target group participants in project activities. So it could be joint trainings for target groups from all of the different countries of the region. So jointly developed and implemented seminars, training programs for the target group employees and employers, and jointly developed and used methods for learning and working. So all of these activities that we have as indicative activities, but any of them should be done jointly together by all project partners. Well, there of course could be some exceptions where it's necessary and relevant, but this is the approach we would like to see. And other examples here are implemented teleworking and distant learning solutions, also everything digital being very topical, and also together preparing, applying anti-discriminatory policies. So together is a very, very important word, and that shows if the cross-border element is present. So what could be the possible project examples? These are just very hypothetical ones, how they could look like. And I also have put these nota bene points right here. So whatever the combination of activities is, each one of these projects needs to deliver one of the predefined project results. We looked at them already several times, and it needs to include a suitable mix of joint actions. And talking about the project results, I'd like to emphasize that all sorts of method development, toolboxes, handbooks, that is fine, but it could be part of the project activities, because to be sufficient, we really need these predefined project results, which always involves direct benefit either to people or to companies. And it cannot be one of these indicative activities, so we need this mix of joint actions and joint activities. So let's look at some potential ideas, how it could look like. So it could be, for example, online training plus at work practice in another Central Baltic country. And what we get is people with improved competitiveness if they finish learning a skill and have practiced it. And then another possible idea we could have, for example, online or face-to-face seminars for employers from different Central Baltic countries to work on anti-discriminatory policies. So the result should be the new anti-discriminatory policies applied and implemented. Well, what else? We could have online training for an international group of trainees. So certificate in the end for new skills, and we have people with improved competitiveness. Of course, also including other activities of the possible joint actions. If it's one small seminar, it may not be enough. We will be looking for impact. What else? So entrepreneurship training and problem solving exercises with elements of business, how it works in different Central Baltic countries. We would have the result of people with increased entrepreneurship skills. Other idea, possibly social dialogue activities with international experience exchange and agreement on anti-discriminatory policies. So possibly sectorally, and in some sector could introduce these new anti-discriminatory policies. And in each one of them, we get to this predefined project result. Well, other important aspect I'd like to mention is the interlinkage with the PO7, which is improving public services, because when we talk about services to the unemployed or other people needing support in employment issues, it could be different services like improving, for example, registrations or consultations for the unemployed. So these type of things could possibly also be relevant. But if the result is some improved services such, and it's not people involved in competitiveness raising activities, then it could be potentially discussed under PO7, improving public services, so program objective 7. And it could even be the same partners who could work on different projects. There could be one under PO7 and one under PO6, directly working with the target groups. So the difference is different content and results. If it is with the target groups directly and produces increased competitiveness for the people or the other results I mentioned, then it's this objective PO6. If it is just about some service improvement, then it's PO7. Also very important specifically for this program objective are the horizontal principles. And looking at the horizontal principles, the ones I have emphasized more are equal opportunities and non-discrimination. Of course, working with such European projects, we would have to fully implement everything, that there's no any type of discrimination to any group allowed, and equal opportunities should be promoted as much as possible. And the same is about the equality between men and women. Also, we have to make sure that this aspect is considered, and in cases where there are some gender imbalances, it could be some also positive action to help the group that is less present in some professions or some labor market segments. It will be considered for all projects, so it is very important to think of these issues while formulating the project ideas. Then a couple of remarks in case somebody is thinking about using the small type of project. So the maximum funding for that would be this not very even number here, 200,000 and a bit more. And that includes the preparation cost lump sum. And the maximum here would be 1.5 years, so 18 months of time. It could be theoretically sufficient for some training, but we have to consider this aspect that if the total project budget remains under 200,000, then the project can only choose simplified cost options. I'll be talking about simplified cost options in much more detail tomorrow, speaking about budget. And such projects cannot apply any real cost. So this is aspect that really has to be considered. And if it may be possible, but we really need to consider this aspect if we are thinking about small project type. So a little bit of recap about what to consider when in planning phase. So the one thing that I can repeat again and again is the contribution to the program objectives. We need to look at the result and output indicators. If there is a match, there is a likely possibility there is a match between the project and the program. If not, it could be that other programs are more appropriate. The right partners. So we have possibility to involve partners from all the countries, not only from the program region, but the benefit always have to come to the program region. So this is how we have to look at the partners. And the very, very important aspect also is the relevance. So if the partners have the right resources and access to target group, how it will be ensured. And that also brings us to sustainability of results. So value for money through real results and plans for use of results later on. In case some handbooks or tools are also methods elaborated during these projects, we also have to think early on who will be using them, how will they be used later, and that would ensure the durability of results for the future. Well, this is the time for questions, and my colleagues will help me about the questions. So what kind of questions are we having, if any?
Greetings from chat room, Laura. We have at least 3 questions. First is about participating potential unemployed people, and the question is, do they lose their social support payment if they participate and become the so to say student or participant in the project?
Well, this would be answered at national level. We would have to see the law of each country, what are the requirements for the unemployed people and in which situations they can keep the benefit and in which not. So this would have to be considered locally by each project partner, how they will do, because it will be different in each country. It depends on the national law and regulation.
Thank you. The second question is about the participants' partners' origin. The question, students or participants, should they come from same country than who are participating in project as partners? For example, students or participants from Finland, but partners in projects from Estonia, Sweden.
Well, this has not been regulated that way, and well, it looks like a good cross-border cooperation and cross-border partnership. And if it's bilateral, we would have to check if maybe some other programs could be relevant, but generally, yes, and it could happen that way. But again, we need some sort of justification and relevance to see why this is the best way how to achieve the result. Yeah, it
Okay,
is
one more. Next question is in regard of the potential status of participants. Can the students participants come from previous workplace? Can they be at that time moment as active worker, or is there but they would be in a threat of unemployment? And who decides this kind of issues? Is it authority, joint secretariat, or who?
Well, this is actually a very good question, and our program doesn't mention anywhere that it has to be unemployed people. So it could be other people as well at risk of employment situation. So people at risk of losing the job, also people who are still working, but for some reason it's justified and seen that they may be at risk of losing their employment. So it could be different types of people, and it has to be justified why this type. Unemployed are sort of the obvious one, but there could be other groups as well, definitely. Thank you for the question.
Then the next question is about the partnership size. I think, and is it better for regular projects to have as many as possible program eligible countries and partners involved?
This question was discussed while programming, and the member states, when defining the program, were explicitly saying that bilateral are no worse than multilateral. So it's not necessary to have all countries represented. If relevant, it could be just two. So again, we look for the best way how to achieve the project result and to solve the challenge it's attempting to solve.
Thank you. We have more. It's about associated partners. Are associated partners welcomed? For example, partners are from Finland and Latvia, but training program and target group is also involved from Estonia. Will these costs be eligible? For example, Latvian partner pays for Estonian target group.
Well, we need to look at this case by case. And so could you repeat? Actually, I missed a bit of the ending of the question.
Yeah, they start actually with whether associated partners are welcome.
Oh, right. Yeah. The question was quite long. So the associate partners, in this program period, we are not having any associate partners at all. There is no such status planned. So there have to be other ways how to involve other organizations sort of planned by the partners themselves, if that is necessary. But the easiest way would be to find a partnership that has direct access to target group. I would advise it that way. That way it would be easier and more straightforward. Otherwise, we would have to look case by case and consider details.
And we have one more. It's about continuation potential project. You have mentioned that the complex entrepreneurship program can be offered to younger and older people. We have been implementing a project for unemployed mothers for Central Baltic 14-20 period, Active Moms acronym, and they have demonstrated a great interest in entrepreneurship training. Is it possible to target them within this program?
Well, depending on the age, because in this program, we have this specific conditions that the entrepreneurship activity is for young people up to 25, and then for the older people, pre-retirement or retirement age. So of course, theoretically, it could be interesting for other age groups as well, but here we really have this focus on the younger and older people for the entrepreneurship activity. For the other activities, it's a different story. So
Thank you, Laura. Now it looks the chat room, all shelves are empty. No more questions.
Well, thank you for the questions, and let's move on. And we have what we have for the other things we have planned for today. And it is to hear some project ideas. And when we were registering for this seminar, we offered an opportunity to pitch a project idea and possibly to find an additional partner still missing from a partnership. And I will ask our potential applicants who applied for pitching to come in at this point. Olga, are you there? Can you unmute and speak and tell about your project idea?
Yes, hello everyone, and thank you for this possibility. I'm representing Lab University of Applied Sciences, where we are working with two target groups. We identified two groups that have problems in accessing labor market. The first group is international students, which we have around 1,000. And we also continuously working with migrants. We have several projects also related to entrepreneurship. And we found out that for migrants, it's very difficult. They have lots of entrepreneurial ideas, but it's very difficult to access target markets and difficult to access, to market their services. So therefore, we decided some solutions for that. We have already running quite successfully entrepreneurial ecosystem, which is aimed at bachelor students who study marketing. This is for Finnish participants, but we decided that it's a very good base to extend this concept, also involve international students into this concept across different departments such as technology, IT, design, business, and tourism, so that the students, Finnish students, local students, would collaborate together with international students in different dimensions, not only marketing. And they would help also to market these services. So the concept actually is the following. So the first year of the studies, they study some kind of topics, and then the rest of the program, they actually create cooperatives and they offer their services to the local companies. Yeah, and also to help to develop these cooperatives, we will build collaboration with companies, local companies. We will also work with some companies that work, which is related to employment, and we would like to also build some cross-border collaboration to enable mobility of the students and to enable kind of internationalization of their services and also exchange of experiences. And we would like to also open this concept to migrants, so that migrants could sell their services and products using this team entrepreneurs of students who have Finnish skills and have access to sell into the local markets. So that's the concept. We of course are open for any extensions and additions or any fresh ideas to add on. We have already some partners in Finland that are interested in collaboration, such as Peter. We discussed about startup train across countries. That was quite a nice idea, but still we are interested in partnership with Swedish and Baltic countries. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Olga. And anybody from other participants interested in Olga's idea, please contact Olga and discuss of possible cooperation. And let's move to the other one. Sirka, are you there? Hello, Sirka.
Yes, I am.
Oh,
Thank
nice
you.
to hear you. Please give us a short presentation of your idea.
Okay, our project at the Southeastern University of Applied Sciences would tackle the older age groups. We're thinking of people who are in their 50s or 60s, who are known to have working skills and may be employed, but they have reduced competitiveness due to maybe health issues and so on. we're thinking of increasing the number of them to at least increase their job search, but also if they have more capabilities improving over the course of the project, then they might get even employed. So they've been very much working together with the job seekers services. There's also research evidence showing that there are gender and health issues that generally affect our labour markets. We would like to take that into account. There's the pay gap, as you mentioned, but there also are quite segregated labour markets in general, which affect men and women differently. So that would be taken into account at this specific age group and their needs for further training. And as we are a higher educational institution, we would like to provide training and see how we could collaborate together with maybe vocational training as well. We'd be happy to work with any Baltic country, whoever is interested, and if you feel that you have these joint targets with Finland. We have an aging population, and I think Laura said before that in Baltic countries it may be just this age group that has some issues to tackle. So it would be good to have joint actions, and the methods that I'm mentioning would be the digital ones for the cross-border actions. But obviously, if the COVID time passes, then it'd be good to have direct participatory interventions workshops as well. So basically, yes, I've just written down a brief overview here. This could be very much discussed together with potentially interested partners. So this is my pitch. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you very much for your presentation. There's some echo. And those interested in this idea for older people in the labor market, please contact Sirka. Her contacts are visible here, and maybe we find relevant partners and see a nice, interesting project with good results later on. So the next thing we have in plan today. So what will happen now? In face-to-face events that we have been missing quite a lot lately, almost for 2 years, we meet people very often at the coffee table, at the breaks, and so on. So now it's time that we would have some kind of a Zoom coffee pause, and we will go for 10 minutes in breakout rooms randomly divided by the computer and meet our colleagues, the other participants. And we would like you to tell others which country and organization are you representing. Are you still looking for project partner organizations, and what kind of partners those could be? Anything about your project idea you would like to share? Or if don't have a specific project idea, then what would you think could be a good project in employment objective in the Central Baltic program? Oh, well, any other reflections you might like to share with colleagues as in an informal coffee pause. We will not need to report back. We will just come back for some last remarks and touches, and still you can ask questions if some new questions come up. And yes, so let's break up in breakout rooms for 10 minutes to meet others and come back after 10 minutes. Automatically, we will be put back into our main session when that is end.
Laura,
yeah?
quick intervention from chat room. There is one more quick request to pitch the project idea, would that be possible or is it late already from the PCS koolitus? Is that question coming?
Well, yeah, why not? Let's. We are very happy to see interest and initiative, and please, whoever wants to pitch, like 2-3 minutes, please tell where you're from and what is the project idea.
Hello, my name is actually Triin Kangur, and I'm here with my colleague Kerli Saarelaid, and we are here from Tallinn, from BCS koolitus. It's BCS training, and we are a IT company and IT training provider in Estonia, the largest one and the oldest one. And we have an idea to share with you, and it's about it's targeting young people mainly, but why not also people who are about to retire? And it's about web development, skills development, so that we have young people who are either thinking about upskilling or maybe also reskilling to enter the labor market in the field of IT. So we aim to train them on web development basics, plus give them the entrepreneurial skills, provide them with opportunity to apprenticeships in SMEs, either in Estonia or why not abroad. And we have tested that kind of scenarios already in Estonia for a couple of years, and we see that there is a huge market still available, and there are a lot of people trying to find their path for their or building their work life. So and we also see the need for people to develop their competencies regarding the job-related or work-related digital skills, so that coding and web development is something that everybody could maintain or be able to at least understand, and that will give them opportunities to work in the IT-related areas, not be coders themselves, but at least understand the whole field and how these different puzzle pieces come together when we use some kind of services or online online services or systems, so that we understand a little bit what's going on behind the screen. So yeah, anyway, we would like to work together with either with Baltic countries, or why not from people from Sweden or Finland. We also have a previous experience with Interreg and Central Baltic programs, so we know what we're dealing with. And yeah, I can say that we have a really great people here, eager to work together with European colleagues. So in case you're interested, I will put together this small introduction to the idea and upload it to or send it into the chat as well. So thank you for the attention, and have a nice coffee break.
Thank you. Thank you for your pitch, and let's go to the breakout rooms now. Merike, are you ready? Well, welcome back in the main room, and it seemed to work well, this coffee pause. At least our group, we even lacked time and would have liked to discuss more. But anyway, we will be distributing everybody's contacts, whoever agreed that their contacts are distributed when registering for this seminar. And everybody is welcome to discuss with people from the participants of this seminar further. And we had some interesting ideas about projects, so about social companies and about training of professions that are not sufficiently available in local labor markets. And everybody is welcome to continue speaking to other participants later on. And of course, you are all welcome to contact me with your project ideas. And if you fill in the project idea form that is available on the centralbaltic.eu website, I could also provide written feedback and do some suggestions. And yes, consultations are also available. So whenever you feel like you have questions or need to discuss one or other aspect of potential project, please send me an email, give a call, and we will be there to support you. And there are also these other ways to get in touch. I already mentioned about the individual consultations that are open and available to you. Then the national contact points may be able to assist with finding some partners that are still not found yet. And also the contacts of the national contact points are available on the Central Baltic website. And there's any topical information that we publish on the website, on our Facebook, Twitter, and you can also sign up to the newsletter. And that is about it for today. We have saved a little bit of time and we'll have a bit longer break for those of you who are attending the next session on improved public services. And I'd like to thank you very much for participation in this seminar and wish you every luck with new exciting projects with great results. Thank you so much and see you later. Give us a call. Thank you. Goodbye.